The world is facing an unprecedented biodiversity crisis, with species the world over declining and going extinct. This crisis is largely caused by human-made changes to the environment, which means it's up to us to come up with solutions. In my PhD work, I study animal movement to provide useful information about what places are important to vulnerable animals such as sea turtles and albatrosses. In so doing, the aim of my work is to help improve the effectiveness of conservation and mitigate some of the negative impacts of human activity. The main source of information for my work is tracking data, which comes from electronic devices which researchers deploy in the field to record how animals move around the world. Here's an example of tracking data showing the migrations of several species of seabird in the Atlantic Ocean. In 2010, the international conservation community set a list of goals and targets for the coming decade. The overarching goal of these so-called Aichi biodiversity targets was to coordinate efforts to address the current crisis of global biodiversity loss and ecological degradation. Strategic Goal B of the Aichi target states that we ought to strive to reduce the direct pressures on biodiversity and promote sustainable use. My work relates specifically to target number 6 of this goal, which pushes for making fisheries sustainable both for target fish species as well as for non-target species like seabirds. Many species of seabird are vulnerable to the effects of overfishing and direct mortality caused by unsustainable fishing practices. I use data tracking the movements of seabirds to identify the relative responsibility that different countries and fisheries management organizations have for these species as they travel the oceans. Strategic Goal C encourages the improvement of the status of biodiversity by improving our systems of protection. Target number 11 of this goal pushes for the protection of ecologically representative areas in equitable and socially integrated ways. In my PhD project, I'm working on applying a method often used for identifying important at-sea areas for seabirds based on tracking data to other species in different contexts. This means publishing a software tool which allows people to analyze the movements of their study species in order to identify the places most important to their persistence. Areas identified using this tool can then be useful candidate sites for protection and management actions. In the coming decades, the issues highlighted in Strategic Goals B and C of sustainable resource use and protection of important habitat for species will continue to be of importance. My PhD work will contribute to this future world of biodiversity conservation by both informing international policy discussions regarding migratory marine animals and by providing useful tools for the identification of important sites for animals of a wide variety. Thanks for listening.